I've seen a lot of shoot interviews over the years, and this one with Devin Nicholson, better known as Hannibal, on YouTube, and of course, Wild Bill Irwin, also known as the Goon in WWF. This one is an absolute dumpster fire, a train wreck, and I blame both. Specifically Wild Bill Irwin, as he was drinking a little bit too much, but I also blame Hannibal in the way he conducted the interview itself, making snide comments such as you see here, where Hannibal spotlighted his own comment for all to see on the screen, where he states, "This is worse than Marty Jannetty." And he's obviously showing up Wild Bill Irwin during this interview and also taking shots at Marty Jannetty, a former guest on his wrestling channel on YouTube. So this is not the way to conduct yourself, in my estimation. Let's get right to it with Hannibal versus Wild Bill Irwin.
I was the Goon. I was the Super Destroyers. I was I was a Black Scorpion down in Atlanta. I used to kick everybody's ass.
Well, maybe let's get right into that Black Scorpion story, because I know Al Perez was also the Black Scorpion for a while, and ultimately it was Ric Flair. So how did you end up being the Black Scorpion?
No, I'm sorry. Who told you Al Perez was the Black Scorpion?
Well, this sets the tone for this train wreck of an interview, the way Wild Bill Irwin responds to Hannibal's question about Al Perez being the Black Scorpion. Let's get right to it. And definitely, for anybody that's watched Al Perez wrestle over the years, specifically in WCCW in Texas, they'll know this is Al Perez, just with the mannerisms, the way he throws the punch against Sting. This is from Clash of Champions 12 from Asheville, North Carolina, back in 1990. Take a look here. You can definitely see this is Al Perez.
Wait a minute, Jim. What's that coming down the ramp? Look!
Al Perez punch right there, if anybody knows anything about Al Perez. Let's continue on here with the interview. And as the interview moves forward, Hannibal is highlighting comments such as this, "Is he okay?" referring to Wild Bill Irwin. And in this segment of the interview, Hannibal asked Wild Bill Irwin who trained him. Specifically, Hannibal's mentioning names, which he shouldn't do because there's a lot of disinfo on the internet. He should have basically just said, "Hey, who trained you, Wild Bill Irwin?" Instead, he mentions Verne Gagne, and you're going to see a reaction from Wild Bill Irwin that he's not very impressed or happy with Hannibal mentioning Verne Gagne as his trainer. Again, you should ask the question, Hannibal, who trained you? Don't mention names. If you're not sure, don't look at the internet and Wikipedia as confirmation of anything. Let's take a listen here at the exchange with Hannibal and Wild Bill Irwin.
I understand you were trained by your brother Scott as well as Verne Gagne. How was your training to become a professional wrestler? Because the business was a lot more protected back then.
Verne Gagne has nothing. Let me just say it again. Nothing to do with my training. Nothing. I was trained by Scott and see, making me think. I've been hit by chairs. Larry
Dynamic?
No. He was out of New York. Father was a promoter, and his father ran shows, and Larry,
Yeah, and this is where Hannibal starts to highlight comments. One is from this guy, Rich, one too many. And moving forward, Hannibal, again, he basically highlights his own comment. And this is very unprofessional. Even though Wild Bill Irwin is not in the best state right now, Hannibal is showing no respect. And he's done this in the past. He doesn't show respect to the pro wrestlers. And actually, he talks bad about several, Juventud Guerrero, Carlito, and others after the fact. That's not professional, you know. Something goes wrong, you leave it alone, you don't bring it up. Let's continue on here with this interview with Wild Bill Irwin.
Larry Sharp?
Larry Sharp. Larry Sharp trained me between my brother and Larry Sharp. They trained me. on Saturdays at in the I don't know what the fuck arena was, some bullshit place in I'm thinking in, god damn it, like Charlotte or some shit. They were there on Charlotte on Saturday.
And there you go, with the highlight of his own comment with Hannibal here on the screen. Again, like I showed earlier, this is worse than Marty Jannetty. Again, not professional. Even if Wild Bill Irwin, again, is not in the best condition to conduct an interview, you let him bury himself. You don't make matters worse, Hannibal. Again, not acceptable in my estimation. And in this segment of the interview, the goon character that Wild Bill Irwin played in WWF for a short period of time is mentioned, brought up by Hannibal. Let's take a listen to the response by Wild Bill Irwin and who created the goon character.
As far as the goon character, I guess did they come up with that based on your hockey background? They found out that you used to be a hockey player?
They didn't come up with shit. I came up with it.
And there you go. Again, this whole interview basically goes in this manner. This is part of the interview that things really fall apart between Hannibal and Wild Bill Irwin. And in my estimation, Hannibal made a big mistake, as you can see here from Hannibal's actual YouTube channel. And if you go to the live chat during this interview, you see this guy here, Michael Collins, state, "I remember you jobbing to The Undertaker on Superstars," referring, of course, to WWF Superstar Wrestling TV program. "Would you say that was your biggest WWF match?" And Hannibal should have common sense. You don't ask these kind of questions. Just because someone brings up in the chat, you should have respect for Wild Bill Irwin, who's wrestled for AWA World Championship Wrestling, World Class Championship Wrestling, and of course WWF, wrestled in Japan, wrestled all over the world. So Hannibal, being a bit younger, born in 1982, myself, for anybody that wants to know my experience, how I can speak upon wrestling, when Hannibal was only 3 years old, I was attending wrestling matches, as you see here. This is a ticket stub back from 1985 at the San Francisco Cow Palace. I'm watching the likes of Adrian Adonis, Junkyard Dog, Terry Funk, Ricky Steamboat, the British Bulldogs, Nikolai Volkov, the Iron Sheik, Mr. Wrestling 2, and so forth. So I know a little bit about wrestling. And again, getting back to the interview, this train wreck of an interview with Wild Bill Irwin, basically, in my estimation, Hannibal didn't do a very good job. He just doesn't have that experience and the respect, even though Wild Bill Irwin is not in the best state. Now let's take a listen to what is stated here that basically turned this into the absolute train wreck, the dumpster fire of an interview. Let's take a listen.
I guess you wrestled The Undertaker in one match. Would that have been the biggest match you had in the WWE? I think it was on Superstars.
That's one of those things where, really, I don't know. To me, is it the biggest match? No. Is it? I don't know how to answer that question. That's like, who's your biggest match? What the hell? I've been doing this for fucking 40 years, and you're asking me who the fuck's my biggest match?
All right, you're a fucking worthless. You're a fucking worthless drunk. Go to hell, you worthless loser.
Thank you.
And basically, that's how things ended, and not in a very good light for either one. I think Hannibal should have took the high road, obviously, and just let Wild Bill Irwin basically bury himself. I've also seen interviews conducted by a professional as Bill Apter, as you see here, and things went very smoothly with Wild Bill Irwin. Let's take a look and listen to how Wild Bill Irwin is here. Very professional, very well conducted interview by Bill Apter. And also, there's going to be respect for someone like Bill Apter, who's been around for a tremendous amount of time with, again, basically, Hannibal has been around relatively a short amount of time compared to someone like Bill Apter, and someone like Bill Apter will get the respect from the wrestlers. Let's take a listen to part of this interview with Bill Apter and Wild Bill Irwin.
Back in your world-class days, were you around the time period when Ultimate Warrior was there, Jim Hellwig, Dingo Warrior?
Yeah, Dingo, well, that's what I know him as.
So maybe a memory of...
well, he came in, and he wasn't there real long, and then he was gone. What I do remember is pretty much, what everybody does is that the kids loved him. They loved his, even my wife goes, oh, I remember when he was there. He'd come in, he had the painted face and the strings, the tied on, and the kids loved him when he came to the ring and all the bright colors and all the excitement. They loved him, and they loved him right from the beginning.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you see here, obviously, Wild Bill Irwin's in a much better situation to conduct an interview. But again, and definitely I blame both for the way this interview went. Obviously, Wild Bill Irwin didn't help that he was drinking. Obviously, Hannibal being a little bit immature, a little bit of a hothead, not presenting himself in the best light as well. And this possibly will go down as the worst interview conducted with a pro wrestler on YouTube.